Okay, so let's take a look at the TTL and high-speed sync operation, right, of the flash. So I've got it on camera. If I go into the flash menu system here, you'll see that, let me just change one thing. The flash is set up for TTL mode, and in the menu system here, you see that it's also set for, try to do this in reverse here, this way and that way. And I'm trying to also get rid of the glare. So you see it's in TTL mode. As far as the sync, it is the front curtain sync, or first curtain sync, I should say. So the native flash sync speed or shutter sync speed for this camera is 1/180th of a second. On the X-T2, it's 2/50th of a second. I've got it currently set for 1/1000 of a second. So I'm not sure if you can see that, but it's set for 1000, so well beyond the sync speed. So if I take a picture, what you should see are the infamous black bars where the shutter is just not syncing. Whoops, sorry, let me go back and do another one of those. You'll see the black bars that indicate that we've exceeded the sync speed of the camera. So let's do another one. So there's an image, and as you'll see here, the whole bottom, part of the frame is black, right? We've got the black bar, only the top slither is properly exposed. Now if I go ahead and enable sync, high-speed sync, so if I go into the menu system again here, flash menu system TTL, I'm going to change the sync. Right now it says FP. I don't know why it's FP, but it's front rather. Let me change that sync to, I'm sorry, I'm changing it from front to FP. FP for Fuji means, I think, full power. That's what I'm going to call it anyway. But then on the flash, what you'll see is there's an H with a lightning bolt. That's high-speed sync. So I'll keep the shutter speed the same, 1000. Take a picture. And now you should see that the image, it's underexposed, but I don't have the black bar. You can see everything. The back wall of my studio, the whole 9 yards, right? So that's the benefit of high-speed sync. Now with high-speed sync, for this flash and for this camera system, it works the same as any other, in that now the flash is emitting a series of smaller flashes, but it's working much more hard to keep up with the faster shutter speed, which means the output power is considerably lower than what it would be otherwise. So there is a caution in the menu that says, I think the maximum number of high-speed sync shots or flashes that you can take in any single duration, I think is 15 or 20, something like that, and then the flash will go into a protection mode so that it doesn't overheat the circuitry. But I can fire up a couple here without any issues, right? These are all high-speed sync images. So that's cool. The fact that we support high-speed sync, that's not something that my Canon flash could do, for example. So that's very useful. If I get around to it, I will post some images outside where I'm quote-unquote able to overpower the sun using a very wide aperture, out in broad daylight, very fast shutter speed to keep my exposure correct. Fast shutter speed, wide aperture, out in broad daylight with the combination of high-speed sync. I would probably end up pairing a couple of flashes in a softbox so that they, again, no single flash is working very hard to give me the amount of light that I need. So if I get around to it, I'll try to post some of those images as well. But nonetheless, that's how you support high-speed sync on this particular flash. So as you can tell, if I go back into the menu system on the back of the camera, I can change the flash exposure compensation from from -5 to +5 stops. But really on the back of the flash, all it supports is ±3. So even though if I go on the back of the camera and I bring this up to +5 stops, you'll see the flash only shows +3, right? If I dial that back down again, dial it down the opposite direction, you'll see it the flash stops at -5 stops or -3 stops on the flash, but the camera goes down to -5. So perhaps with a firmware update, either for the flash, probably for the flash, we'll see those things sync up, but it's not a big deal as long as you know what your limitations are. I showed you how I can change the shutter sync. FP again on the back of the camera equates to high-speed sync on the flash, or you can change to front or rear shutter sync, depending upon if you're taking an image and the shutter speed. If it's a moving car, for example, that has its lights on, depending upon if you use a front or rear curtain sync, it could make it look as if the car is actually traveling in reverse. But I've never really had to change that for any of the work that I do. That's basically it as far as high-speed sync and TTL is concerned. The point is that I can go ahead and make all my changes from the back of the camera versus on the flash. Now, one of the advantages that the Canon system definitely had was the fact that, you know, we talked about the capability of the flash to support multiple groups. I said groups A, B, and C. If I want to make any changes on a per group basis, I cannot do that in the menu system of the camera. I have to do that either on the flash itself or using the trigger. Okay. Whereas in my Canon cameras, I could make all of the changes in camera, but that's not that big of a deal, not that much of a sacrifice. So let's go ahead and take a quick look at the trigger now. So like I said, this is the X1T trigger, a dedicated RF transmitter that I can use for any of the flashes. And this of course just sits on camera. This runs off of 2 AA batteries, which are just back here. And very simple operation, just an on-off switch, and then LED switch as well, if I want the LED to stay on or go off after a period of time. So turn it on, and then just 3 simple buttons across the front. I've got, the top is my channel/OK button. When I make any changes, I have to hit that to commit the changes. Beneath that is the group button. The group button serves 2 purposes. I'll show you in just a second. And then the last one is my mode, so I can go from manual mode, TTL, and so forth. And then up top is just a button that I can use for test firing the flash. Okay? So let's go ahead and turn this guy on. Turn this flash on again in slave mode, group A, channel 2. The amber indicates that it's in slave mode. The tone you just heard indicates that it's ready to be used. So now I'm going to go back on my trigger. I'm going to go into group A. Let's see here. And you know which group you've got selected because there's a little white arrow on the side of the screen pointing to the currently selected group. And then there's also an underline beneath. Let me turn on the LED, might make it a little easier. It's already on, can't really see it. But then there's also a little underline beneath the group that's currently selected. So I've got group A selected. In my mode button, again, if I cycle through the mode, you'll see TTL, manual, and off. So that's TTL. Press mode again, you should see manual, and off is indicated by the 3 dashes going across the screen. Okay, so let's go ahead and put it in manual mode. So once it's in manual mode, you see the power and the exposure compensation. It's at quarter power, and that corresponds with what's on the back of the flash. But let's go ahead and raise up the power. I'm going to press the group button. I remember I said the group button has 2 functions, so it changes the group, but it also changes the power level setting. So I changed to group A, and I'll go ahead and change it up to full power. Press OK. You should have seen that change on the back of the flash, and indeed it did. And then I can just press the test button to fire. There we go. Very simple. All right? So the trigger, by the way, supports up to 5 groups. So you see I've got groups A through E, but the flashes themselves, when they're working as transmitters, only support 3 groups.